SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
It's time for another episode of Y'all Sports Radio. I'm Cliff Furr, joined by my friend and co-host Brandon Shamatara. We come to you live. We come to you every week from SuperTalk 102.1 in downtown Brookhaven. Y'all Sports Radio is made possible by a handful of partners that are very important to us. One of them being Bank of Brookhaven, the other being Toyota of Brookhaven. Those are our presenting sponsors. We'll talk more about them later. Can't thank them enough. Brandon, last week we had on a true character, Craig Bowie Davis. You didn't know about Bowie, but I'm sure you probably saw after I posted his picture and said, hey, Bowie's going to be on. So many people were like, Bowie, I love Bowie. I love his stories. I loved having him as a coach, loved having him as a teacher. He's a character, right?
Man, I'll be honest with you, Cliff, I was just a little bit intimidated by Bowie because he did such a great job, and he's just a natural at this. He's been doing it for so long. I was like, I saw you looking at him out of the corner of your eye like a piece of meat. And I'm like, man, where do I stand in this thing? I'm having fun doing Y'all Sports Radio, and I want to keep doing it. Do we have another mic? We could still bring on guests, but bring Bowie in too.
Yeah, no, that won't be the last time we talk to Bowie. And what you saw was just a look of just overall just admiration that I have for Bowie. I mean, growing up in Lincoln County and being part of this sports hemisphere in Southwest Mississippi, Bowie's just a guy that he calls me and we just talk about ball and we talk about, hey, have you heard this or have you heard that? Or he sends me a message asking me what the most recent coaching rumor mill is. And he's just a great friend of mine. And it was a lot of fun to have him on. We talked a little bit about baseball, talked a little bit about camping. I mean, he's an expert in a lot of stuff. We'll have him on again. We actually we got to talking about road trips and national parks and stuff like that. If you're into national parks, hit up Bowie. He's a guy that can answer a lot of questions for you for that.
So I hate to do this 2 weeks in a row, give Corey Myers a shout out, but I can't help because it compliments Bowie. But first of all, I got to say what Corey said in a text message to me. He said, dude, y'all are killing it on the show. Well, I could just stop there. Yeah, you're right. We are. Come on. And so, but he says,
go on.
He says, I should have pulled more out of him. He says, Bowie is my all-time favorite. And the only regret that he has is that he didn't get to coach with him longer. And then he goes on to say, hey, if he ever invites you anywhere, you better go. And you'll be better for it because he's got the greatest stories. And he said that Bowie would whatever you were involved with, he was involved with, and if he invited you to come with him, it was kind of a behind-the-scenes type of thing, and just how he'd roll out the red carpet as if you were a family member. And so I started thinking about the Zurich that he invited us to, and I was like, that was kind of a loose invite, but I don't know how much stroke he has down there at the Zurich, being his first year and all. But hey, I might give him a call and see if I can get some behind the scenes, maybe find some golf balls stuck in the ground like he did.
I'm just gonna say, if you're gonna ride with him, you better go ahead. I think he's gonna leave real early.
And bring your tent.
Yeah, he's a leave early, be prepared. Just a fun guy. Well, look, Brandon, when I first started talking, this is episode 13 of Y'all Sports Radio, by the way. When I first started talking to our friend Robert Bird and our friend Ben Sills about doing Y'all Sports Radio, Robert had a phrase that he gave to me that I just really loved and kind of stuck it in my head. And it's always, hey, Y'all Sports Radio, we're not just giving scores. We're trying to tell the stories beyond the scores. And we've done that so far with 12 awesome guests so far. But today's going to be a little bit different. It's just going to be Brandon and I talking ball. And we're talking about a couple of people that have been inspirations to me. And I posted both of their stories this past week on Y'all Sports on our Facebook page, and got a lot of great feedback from that. If you're ever looking for Y'all Sports, you can find us in a variety of places. We're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Facebook. That's primarily, we have a website, y'allsportsms.com, but primarily the things that I post on a day-to-day are posted on our Facebook page with a little over 18,000 followers there. And back on April 2nd, I posted, which was the day after our show aired, I made a note to myself that, hey, this is a story beyond the score that I want to make sure that we talk about on Y'all Sports Radio, and that is the story of Bobby O'Quinn. Bobby was an all-state defensive lineman at Franklin County who lost his life as a freshman at Co-Lin in a tragedy, a drowning at Lake Okissa in Franklin County, and that happened 15 years ago from last Thursday, Brandon. And I made sure, I just wanted to put on Facebook and let folks, my friends in Franklin County, know that, like, hey, I remember Bobby O'Quinn, and I remember his sacrifice, and I remember who he was as a football player, but bigger than that, I remember who he was as a 19-year-old young man who saved a little girl's life and lost his life looking for another little girl in a terrible accident. We're going to get into that story a little bit more later. But, Brandon, whenever I first started talking about Y'all Sports Radio, my wife, Angela, I told her, I said, well, I also want to do something where I talk about Bobby O'Quinn. Yeah. And she said, well, you're going to write about that. And I said, well, I am going to write about it, but I also want to talk about it because I want as many people as can hear my voice or read my words to know that, like, hey, when we talk about what's wrong with the world today, we can sit here and we can fill a yellow legal pad up 10 times over. Yeah. But the things that are right, the people who, when they hear a cry for help, they run to it. People like Bobby O'Quinn, they surround us every day. Yeah. And I just want to celebrate Bobby's life and talk about him a little bit on the show. And then so I wrote about Bobby on the website. That piece has about 25,000 clicks so far. And then I also wrote about Chana Perry passing away just recently. And growing up in Brookhaven, Brandon, and pulling up to the gym, Sinclair Gymnasium, and seeing her name outside the gym, and it always saying USA Today Player of the Year. Wow. I mean, you could be from Strayhorn, Mississippi, and know the USA Today is a pretty big deal when we were growing up, right?
Hey, look, man, back in the day, something like I don't think we give it enough recognition for what it was because – I mean, number one, you didn't have social media. You didn't have the internet like we do now to find these people. But when they found you, it was like, wow, what a impact that person was on the game to be named Player of the Year. And so if you were that person, you were excellent and top notch, the best at what you did. And so, I mean, I always go back to the Dandy Dozens. Man, I used to wait for that paper to come out. Yeah. I was so interested. I knew I wasn't going to be one, but I wanted to model myself around who these people were. And sometimes you can't model 6'2" to 6'6", but at least I can, get in the weight room and work harder. But when I would see the Dandy Dozen, I would know these players like the back of my hand. It was important. The publications, it meant something, and it still does. We just look at it different.
You're right. We get those sources from different places. But as a kid growing up in Brookhaven, Mississippi in the 80s, I knew two things about basketball. I knew that the former USA Today National Player of the Year played on a 40-0 team at Brookhaven High, even though I never got to watch her play. And I knew that my man, Chris Thurman, scored a bunch of points against MRA in an overall championship game and got his picture and faces in the crowd in Sports Illustrated. Yeah. And everybody knows, like, oh, you got that issue of Sports Illustrated with Chris Thurman in it? It was like a collector's item around town. Yeah. So Chana Perry is, I would say, if you were to talk about the greatest athletes in the history of Brookhaven, Mississippi, Lance Allworth and Chana Perry would be right there side by side. And we're going to talk about them and some similarities they have later on the show. But when we get back, we're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk about Bobby O'Quinn. I'm going to read you Bobby's hero citation that he got from the Carnegie Institution. It's going to hopefully give you chill bumps on that big old bald head of yours. But, hey, we want to thank Bank of Brookhaven again. We want to thank Toyota Brookhaven again. We don't get to tell the stories beyond the score without their support, and so we appreciate them so much. When we come back on Y'all Sports Radio, we'll be talking about the late Bobby O'Quinn.
Good Hope Land and Timber is a full-service land and timber company that offers years of experience in forestry and land management. Our services include timber and land purchasing, timber management, plantation thinning, and development harvesting. Our company has an experienced logging force that is trained according to the Sustainable Forestry Initiative and best management practices. Give Sam Ballard a call at 601-669-5999 for all your timber harvesting and land management needs.
Welcome to Juan's Seed Store, your go-to spot for all your farming and agriculture needs right here in Brookhaven. Located at 636 Greenview Trail, we're much more than just a seed store. Need boots? We've got you covered with Durango, Rocky, Muddy, and Gator Wader brands. And if you're looking for style, rock and roll denim will keep you looking sharp while you work. We also carry durable key overalls and workwear. Shop with us Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Juan Seed Store, where we're so much more than just a seed store.
All right, we're back on Y'all Sports Radio. I'm Cliff Furr. I'm joined, as always, by my friend and co-host, Brandon Shamatara. And today, we're doing something we haven't done before. We don't have a guest in studio with us, and we're just taking the time to talk about a couple of folks that their name will carry on long after Y'all Sports Radio is off the air. But I want to talk about Bobby O'Quinn every April, at the beginning of every April. That's a goal for mine. Brandon, I hope we keep this thing going as long as we can, and maybe next year we can have Bobby's mom, Valerie, or his dad, Bobby, or Coach Glenn Davis on here to just talk and to remember Bobby. And as somebody who lost a parent at a younger age, just turned 22 years old, very unexpectedly, lost my mom in a hunting accident, the advice that I always give people is, hey, if you have good memories of people who've passed away tragically or suddenly, you go and you tell those memories to the people that are connected to them through their family. You let them know. You let them know that, like, hey, the person who's not here anymore, they live on in my heart. They live on in my memories. And the beautiful thing about Bobby and the sacrifice that he made is I've got a website pulled up right here, and it says Carnegie Hero Fund Commission. To be called a hero. The act details, this happened on April 2nd, 2011 in Bude, Mississippi. Bobby Joe O'Quinn III helped to save Stormy L. Dunaway and died attempting to save Audriana S. Lofton from drowning in Bude, Mississippi on April 2nd, 2011. Stormy was 9 and Audrina was 7. They were playing with other children in the waters off of a beach at Okissa Lake. The girls encountered difficulty near the buoy line. I've later learned that it was a boat that came through too fast in a no-wake zone that caused a large wake that knocked the girls off the buoy line. It was about 40 feet from the bank. Adults responding from their party included O'Quinn. It was a birthday party being set up for when they heard the children screaming. Bobby was there with his young daughter. Removing his shoes, O'Quinn entered the water and waded and swam out to Stormy, who was holding on to a buoy. He pulled her from it and pushed her to another man, who then took her to safety. As Audriana wasn't visible, O'Quinn and others swam in search of her. During his search efforts, O'Quinn submerged and did not resurface. Rescue personnel arrived and recovered her body within a few hours as she had drowned. The search for O'Quinn continued the following day and into the next, when his body was located beyond the buoy line in water 35 feet deep. That was a dangerous thing, as the swimming area goes from safe shallow waters to a drop off of 35, 40 feet there. That's Bobby O'Quinn, the hero. Here's Bobby O'Quinn, the football player. Brandon, 3-time MAC 3A Defensive Player of the Year.
Wow.
And Jeremy Bibbs won it this year for 5A, and we're so pumped, so excited for him. Had an interview with him. Bobby O'Quinn won that as a 10th, 11th, and 12th grader. Playing for Coach Trent Hammond, some other guys. Really, really good Franklin County teams. And following in the footsteps of his uncle DJ Shaw, following the footsteps of some really talented O'Quinn cousins. He was a difference maker on the football field as a defensive lineman. And Bobby wasn't super tall. He was a little shorter, like a nose tackle, but he's a guy that a center would absolutely hate blocking because of the effort and energy and the strength, the just straight up Franklin County country boy strength that he possessed. And he was only 19 years old when he lost his life, Brandon.
Man, guys that are 5'10", 260 with a motor, as a former center, I'm just going to tell you, you didn't want to run up against those guys.
No.
I mean, because they go one way or the other, and you don't want them to go either way.
That's right.
And so I was just looking up some photos and things of him, and he was built well. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And so. Man, I just stop and think, in situations like that, Cliff, two things are going to happen. And I know this is kind of cliche, but fight or flight.
That's right.
And so he had the opportunity to stay where he was and not react. And
19 years old, if he just stood on the side, a football star, if he just stood on the side and said somebody else go do it, nobody would have thought twice.
Nobody would have thought twice, and we wouldn't be sitting here talking about him today. But like you said, I mean, his name and that story and the memories will live on long past us. And he wasn't looking to give his life for something like that. It was just who he was and his character and doing the right thing. And so, you stop and ponder for a minute and you're like, well, what would I do?
That's right.
And, as a dad right now and with 3 children, man, it would be hard to put my life on the line for someone else. But, I take this and look at it from a spiritual matter, no greater love.
That's right.
And then to lay down your life for your brother. And
especially it being Easter week. Just thinking about that. That's why it's been on my heart so heavy.
Oh, man. And so just incredible, man. Just a great story. And I just love doing this show with you and, your friendship and learning more about these things. Because, how long did you say that? Well, 15 years,
15 years ago, yeah. Last Thursday made 15 years.
It could be something that's, just a past memory that nobody thinks about anymore. So I applaud you for wanting to put his name out there and share the story and the incredible, miraculous effort that he made. He saved a young girl and unfortunately wasn't able to save the other one. But I know if he were here today and he was able to save one and also live through it, he would likely be upset that he didn't save the other one. It seems like what kind of guy he was.
Yeah, that's a great way to think about it, Brandon. Look, I posted it on Y'all Sports last Thursday. It's one of those things that it had been laid on my heart, and I knew that it happened in early April. I didn't have to look up anything. I was a coach at Colin during that time. I was assistant basketball coach. I knew Bobby. I taught Comp 1 and Comp 2. I can't remember if I taught him or not, but he was so beloved by just everybody that he came in contact with. He was popular, and the timing of it hurts so much because he was in the spring of his freshman year of playing JUCO football, and that is the time where the offers start rolling in, the schools start talking to you. Colin's going through practice right now, and when you have a spring practice at a junior college, you don't always have a whole lot of guys out there, but the quality of the guys is really high, and so that's when guys start getting offers. And so Bobby's right there on the doorstep of realizing these dreams that he's had of being a big time college football player, because you're not a big time high school football player like he was and not dream about being a big time college player.
It's like the blue chip guys that we've had on here. I mean, both of them said, listen, I go to bed every night thinking about this. And I wasn't blue chip. I wasn't highly recruited at all. But I thought about every night, how can I make a big play to get my name out there and be recognized? How can I help my team? And so, but no, going back to this time of year for them, I would imagine for you, Cliff, because you lived through it, that you don't even have to stop and think of the date, because when the seasons change.
It's like a birthday party at Lake. You can just now start doing those things.
The month of April hits, and you're like, man, Bobby. Bobby, and so it resonates with you. But man, just that was his time. College coaches walking around the practice field.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Looking at you like you're cattle.
Yeah.
So he was at the height of his football career, and likely ready to take off and go to a huge university and make all his dreams come true.
His uncle DJ Shaw, who was a great guy that I also got to know through my time at Colin. DJ played at Franklin County a couple years ahead of Bobby. Very similar defensive lineman. DJ went to West Virginia, and that was the trajectory that Bobby was on for sure. Coach Glenn Davis, I know that next year when we do this, we'll have Glenn on. This was kind of impromptu in some ways, so I think we'll have Glenn on, and we'll definitely try to have somebody from Bobby's family on. When I posted about it on Y'all Sports Facebook last week, one of the best things that came out of it was Mandy Jackson, who's related to Bobby through his daughter. She posted Bobby's beautiful 15-year-old daughter, Gabby. He loved his baby girl, and posted a picture of her with a little grin on her face, a little smile on her face that looked very similar to Bobby. And to look and see 27 reactions, hearts, likes, including Coach Trent Hammond, one of Bobby's old high school coaches who left Franklin County and then went on and coached up at Tupelo. So we're still talking about Bobby. We're still remembering Bobby. That's important for me. It was important for me this April. It'll be important for me next April. And every April I'm allowed to do this dream job that I have of Y'all Sports. I'm going to do it. And Brandon, you don't have to know somebody to be touched by the story, because some Colin supporters heard Bobby's story, and they started a scholarship in Bobby's memory that gets given out this time of year every year. It's the Bobby O'Quinn Memorial Scholarship. It's one that if you have a little bit of money that you need to give it to a charitable organization, I'm going to give you the number you can contact. It's 601-643-8313. 601-643-8313. That is my wife, Angela. She's the director of the foundation at Colin, and she has an awesome job where she gets to see scholarship money given out to lots of great kids from all over the state and all over the country. And the one that goes out every year that honors Bobby's name is one that I know her and Coach Davis and the folks in Weston are just they're proud to do it every year. And
and if you're driving and you didn't catch that number, well, you can always go back to the podcast and listen, or just send Y'all Sports a direct message, and we can get you connected with Miss Angela.
We can always do that. We talked last week. A direct message might get you to be a guest on the show. You never know.
You'll be a Y'all star if you direct message with the desire to give.
That's
to the
right.
scholarship.
We'll shout you out for sure. Yep. Well, I gave Angela's number out. I'm going to give Brandon's number out right now, 601-990-3059. That's Brandon Shamatara. He's not just here talking to me because he's cool. I mean, he is. But Brandon has a State Farm agency here in downtown Brookhaven. He's actually right here on the busiest corner in Brookhaven, Mississippi, is where you're going to find Brandon Shamatara every day of the week, doing what he can to win his new customers and keep his old customers. He is going above and beyond. He is not just a friend. He's also a sponsor of Y'all Sports Radio, and we couldn't do it without his help. We're going to come back from this break, and we're going to talk next about Chana Perry, the greatest women's basketball player in Brookhaven history, coming up next on Y'all Sports Radio.
Welcome to Juan's Seed Store, your go-to spot for all your farming and agriculture needs right here in Brookhaven. Located at 636 Greenview Trail, we're much more than just a seed store. Need boots? We've got you covered with Durango, Rocky, Muddy, and Gator Wader brands. And if you're looking for style, rock and roll denim will keep you looking sharp while you work. We also carry durable key overalls and workwear. Shop with us Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Juan Seed Store, where we're so much more than just a seed store.
Good Hope Land and Timber is a full-service land and timber company that offers years of experience in forestry and land management. Our services include timber and land purchasing, timber management, plantation thinning, and development harvesting. Our company has an experienced logging force that is trained according to the Sustainable Forestry Initiative and best management practices. Give Sam Ballard a call at 601-669-5999 for all your timber harvesting and land management needs.
All right, we're back on Y'all Sports Radio. I'm Cliff Furr, the Y'all and Y'all Sports. I want to thank Sam Ballard with Good Hope Land and Timber again. Sam can be reached at 601-669-5999. Sam, a former offensive lineman from this area, got to see him play many times when he was growing up, and he is out there working for Good Hope Land and Timber. He is an experienced forester who can help you in a variety of different ways. We appreciate Sam Ballard and Good Hope for their support of Y'all Sports Radio. Brandon, we lost a lady who is a iconic name in Lincoln County when it comes to sports this past week with the announcement that Chana Perry, who was the 1984 National USA Today Player of the Year. She led a 40-0 state championship team at Brookhaven High there for Coach Tommy Goodson. Chana passed away, and it was shocking, I guess, because I don't think anybody really knew that she had been in bad health, and it actually was kind of shocking as well because back at the end of basketball season, I made a post about her on Y'all Sports, just something about how, hey, remember when Brookhaven was the best of the best when it came to girls basketball at that time, and to have the National Player of the Year, right? And so I talked about her not too long ago, and I got a lot of good feedback from local family members who are folks that still live here, and they're still super proud of what a great player that she was. And so then for her to now have just recently passed away, talked about her again this time on Y'all Sports. A lot of those same family members were again thankful that we were bringing her name up and talking about her greatness. And then I'll let you know that we were going to talk about her today on the show. You probably never heard of her before, had you?
No, I hadn't. But when I started doing my research, I just kept digging, and I was just so interested the more I read. And so, man, what a story. Can't wait to hear your version of it. And, when you think Parade All-American, Cliff, I mean, that's incredible. I know we talked about it a little bit earlier, but, you just think about what that person, what Chana did as a player, but then also who she impacted around her. I mean, you go 40-0 on a state championship team. And first of all, anybody who has the opportunity to go undefeated and win it all, man, what a journey that is. I mean, even if you don't have Parade All-Americans on your team, but
that's like top of the top.
I mean, you could just imagine. I mean, so we're talking about 1983, 84 range. And so, I mean, again, we don't have a lot of photos and things from back then. As I was doing my digging, I was able to find some yearbook photos of Chana. I don't know if I sent those to you earlier, but I didn't know if you knew where they came from. But, I mean, not a lot of pictures and things like that out there. And so just think about my secretary and I were talking about her earlier, and she's like, if she were a player during 2026, man, she would be worldwide.
Yeah.
And NIL deals and all that good stuff. I mean, 6'4", right?
6'4".
Yeah.
Yep.
Just incredible, man.
Yeah. I had to, as a basketball fan, and yeah, I was born in '81, so obviously I didn't get to see her play, but just listening to people talk about her over the years was kind of how I formed, because I was just always very curious. There were kind of like styrofoam basketballs that were signs. One said her name and National Player of the Year. The other one said 40-0. They were on the gym on the outside of Sinclair Gymnasium, and they were just different. They were different kind of signs. They had a different look to them, and I was always curious, like, who was this lady? What did she do? Where did she play afterwards? And that's a long story. It is a long story. And you're right, Brandon. You get to, like, falling down that rabbit hole. There are still articles that you can read from the LA Times, from the New York Times, that detail some of the things off the court involving Chana's story. That those are things that Brandon, honestly, I mean, we'll touch on them, but I so badly, when I posted about her earlier in the year, I so badly had this dream of, like, could we get her to call? I knew she lived in California, but I was like, could I get her to call in? Yeah. Could we get her to talk on a radio show in Brookhaven about those glory days? Because I was at the reunion when they unveiled the banners that replaced that sign in the gym, and she wasn't there. And so I'd ask around, and I would say, hey, where's Chana at? And they would say, well, she's in California. So I believe one of her siblings thanked me for the first post that I made about her, and I said, hey, I dream about having her on a radio show here. Does she ever come home and come back to Brookhaven? And she said, just no. Just real simple, just no. And I said, well, I respect that. I understand that. We'll get into some of that. To
be fair, it's just not. I mean, it's not a day trip. It's
hop
in the car. And,
drive from LA to Brookhaven. Exactly. Yeah. And if you've seen the price of flying,
hold on, the price of fuel right now.
Yeah. We're all hanging out with the people nearest to us right now. But yeah, I just I kind of got enraptured in the story later on of, like, realizing, like, man, she was at the center of a recruiting war, like maybe that we're used to today, but back then, we're talking 84, Brandon. We're talking about women's basketball emerging, right? We're talking about how that, a lot has been said this past week about how when you go back to the late 70s and early 80s, that you hear about Delta State and Mississippi College and Wayland Baptist and Cheney State, and all these schools are smaller schools now, but at that time they were the powerhouses because they were ahead of the curve of everybody else as far as getting the best players. And when we talk about Chana's story, we talk about somebody who was getting recruited by USC and Louisiana Monroe. And today, in the world that we live in, if you said USC and Louisiana Monroe, you'd be like, buddy, Louisiana Monroe isn't going to get a second of my time. Yeah. But at that time, Louisiana Monroe, then known as Northeastern Louisiana, was a powerhouse.
That's what I was going to say. You say Louisiana Monroe, the Warhawks. Well,
that's right.
Let's go back. Let's take it back. It's Northeast Louisiana University, and they were the Indians.
They were the Indians. Yeah, they got they changed their name, got all PC.
I went on a recruiting trip there once, and they were the Louisiana Monroe Indians, and so they had changed from Northeast to Louisiana Monroe, and they were still the Indians. And then, of course, when I went to Arkansas State, they had changed their name to the Warhawks. But I'll just tell you about one of the articles that I read. this is how big of a deal. I mean, I want you to stop and think about this. All right, small town, Brookhaven, Mississippi. This article was published in 1986, and this wasn't just some fly-by-night newspaper. This was the L.A. Times, all right? The L.A. Times wrote the article that I was reading about in 1986. So that just tells you how big of a star that she was.
The reach, dude. The reach. It's unreal.
I mean, in a time where connectivity is not what it is.
Hey, what would we have to do in Brookhaven to get the L.A. Times to come write about us right now? It had to be something very terrible.
It would have to be bad. It would have to be bad.
It would be very bad. I'm not going to speak any bad things in existence, but it had to be very bad. You're right.
So just the impact that she had. I mean, and what we're doing is we're recapping, building up who Chana was and the impact she had on this community and ultimately the nation. I mean, you're talking about all the way out to L.A. And I don't think this had anything to do with her living there at that point in time. I mean, this was just an article. She was such a big deal, and this recruiting, and Cliff is going to talk more about it in a little bit, but the whole recruiting violations and the storyline that came along with it, I mean, it was national news, and she was a national figure. And honestly, just my research, I feel like that, she was probably victim of her, what's the right word I'm looking for, her statue, her popularity, and all the people who wanted to have a part of Chana directly with, recruiting them to to their schools. But, I think that, things could have clearly been done different based off of what I've read, and we're not listening to a story that was kind of tragic, but we're listening to just a miraculous, wonderful story.
Yeah, and look, she got her redemption. She went on San Diego State. Yep. She's a Hall of Famer at San Diego State. She was ruled ineligible by the NCAA. It was the first time that the NCAA ever punished a women's basketball program for illegal recruiting.
First ever.
Yeah. It was based around her recruiting. But here's a role that I take seriously when it comes to young sports. And we talked about this last week with Bowie and the whole idea of, okay, I'm a historian for this area, and here's why it's important for us to pass these stories down. Because if you go and search Chana Perry, Chana, if you search her name in YouTube, one video that she made for a little 2-minute video for a coach that was having a birthday, a former coach of hers, former assistant coach. It's her just saying, hey, coach, happy birthday. Remember all the lessons that you taught me. That's all that's on there, Brandon. When you search her name on YouTube, there's no place for me to go watch her highlights. So, look, I did some digging. And I made a post last night. If you go to Y'all Sports, if you find us on Facebook, I wrote, had someone to ask me this week if there were any Chana Perry highlights online. I think I found some in this E.J. Lee OK reel from YouTube. E.J. Lee was a point guard from Korea who played on these really good Northeast Louisiana teams, and they called her the Korean Magic Johnson. Their description, not mine. She was a dazzling point guard for then Northeast Louisiana. And if you watch these highlights, Chana is number 23 in these highlights, and you can see her athleticism, her size, and her strength, and how they clearly are above everyone else on the court. And a comment that I got from that earlier today from Johnny Smith. We thank you for all your time, research, love, and support you have shown for our sister, Chana Perry. Thank you for giving her flowers before and after her transitioning. You're greatly appreciated, Y'all Sports. I hope, Miss Johnny, I hope you hear this. I'm going to post this link. I hope you hear this. I hope you know it is my honor to talk about your supremely talented sister. And we'll get back into a little bit more after the break about what it's like to live in a small town like Brookhaven and to hear about the all-time greats, Chana Perry being one of them. We'll talk more about her career and even some things that I saw written about her this week after her unfortunate passing next on Y'all Sports Radio.
Good Hope Land and Timber is a full-service land and timber company that offers years of experience in forestry and land management. Our services include timber and land purchasing, timber management, plantation thinning, and development harvesting. Our company has an experienced logging force that is trained according to the Sustainable Forestry Initiative and best management practices. Give Sam Ballard a call at 601-669-5999 for all your timber harvesting and land management needs.
Welcome to Juan Seed Store, your go-to spot for all your farming and agriculture needs right here in Brookhaven. Located at 636 Greenview Trail, we're much more than just a seed store. Need boots? We've got you covered with Durango, Rocky, Muddy, and Gator Wader brands. And if you're looking for style, rock and roll denim will keep you looking sharp while you work. We also carry durable key overalls and workwear. Shop with us Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Juan Seed Store, where we're so much more than just a seed store.
All right, y'all, we're back on Y'all Sports Radio. We've been talking today about Bobby O'Quinn earlier. Bobby, the anniversary of his tragic death, and how we remember him as a hero all these 15 years later. That was last week, and then we also brought up how this week we recently lost Chana Perry, who is a all-time great of anything involving a ball. Anybody ever to play any game in Lincoln County, when you're talking about the best of the best, you got to talk about Chana Perry. Her name was on the gym, on the outside of the gym, all my growing up life. Heard her talked about as the greatest of all time. I would listen to people who would talk about what she could do on the court, and they would say, man, she would jump up, she'd get a rebound higher than anybody else could get it. She'd dribble down. She could pull up off of her dribble. She also had some very, very good high school teammates, some future college basketball players on that team as well that she would also distribute the ball to. They give the ball back to her in the post. Just a well-oiled machine. And we were talking, Brandon, about the pressure that she faced in her recruiting. Her dad lived in L.A., he wanted her to go to USC. Why not? In 1984, USC is as good as there is in women's college basketball. Her mom initially wanted her to go to LSU. LSU hires her high school coach to be an assistant coach, which is, that's letting you know how bad they want her right there.
That's money in the bank most of the time.
Yeah. And look, Brandon and I were talking earlier. We're talking about these old articles you can read about her, where some written by the LA Times, some written by the New York Times, and they talk about how in one of those articles she's quoted. She says that every day Coach Goodson would give her a letter of intent for LSU and be like, "You going to sign this?" And she would look at it, and then she would think about it, and then she would give it back to him at the end of the day. I mean, just the whole idea of being pulled in a lot of different places. Look, we've experienced some of that around here. We had Leo Lewis, linebacker, who was number one linebacker in his class, and we all remember the drama about Leo signing with Mississippi State and maybe signing with LSU, maybe signing with Ole Miss, and NCAA investigation that came out of that. Boy, we can cause an NCAA investigation around here if we try real hard. But Chana, there was an NCAA investigation about her recruitment, and like we said before the break, when Northeast Louisiana was punished for what was deemed, and listen, folks, man, when you look back at it and you hold what was a violation then versus what happens today, it just makes you sick, dude.
Yeah. You just stop and think of the impact of the NIL and everything that goes along and money changing hands above the table. Well, Cliff, those things were going on, as we all know, below the table for years, all the way back to Chana Perry in 1983, right? Yeah. So, and I've heard stories from former University of Arkansas players, played in the 70s. Listen, guy was committed to Arkansas, and then Memphis gave him a Mustang, and he took the Mustang and still went to Arkansas.
Yeah.
So just kind of give you context on all the way back in the 70s.
It was happening
happened.
then, and it happens today, yeah. And like you said, it's just out in the open. Well, what they got Northeast Louisiana on the NCAA, they said that they gave her a ride and a legal ride. They gave her an illegal hotel room. They're big on, you can't get a hotel room. They got her a hotel room, a legal ride, and some other things. And one of the
she was lent something. She borrowed
a watch.
A watch.
She borrowed a watch.
Borrowed a watch, and that was
an infraction.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
And then the
she just wanted to be on time, bro.
And the worst one to me was they cited him because she was doing some shooting in the gym, and there was an assistant coach there watching her just basically work out. But they didn't have to watch her work out to know if she was good enough to play there. She was the freaking USA Today Player of the Year. Yeah. The fact that she got in trouble for shooting basketball with a coach present, it just reminds you of just, newsflash, folks, the NCAA didn't just start being stupid in the year 2026.
And it's incredible how long it took for the NCAA to ultimately, in 2026, to be irrelevant.
Yeah.
Right? It's incredible that it took that long. Now, I think that we need to have rules and guidelines. Yeah, absolutely, because otherwise these kids won't be able to experience high school and learn, right? So there needs to be rules, but the NCAA has dropped the ball figuratively, right?
Oh, yeah.
Since way back when. It's such a joke.
They had the abandoned lawsuit for years and years and years. They could have figured out some kind of name, image, likeness that would work. They kicked the can down the road, let our U.S. government handle it, and now we have the wild, wild west. And I'm telling you right now, if Chana Perry was a high school senior right now, she would have six-figure offers all over the place for her to come play. She would have NIL. She would have the ability to go play in the WNBA. And that's something that over the years, as I've talked to Coach Gwen Young, who I used to work for, and he was a source for me on this. Or like my friend Dwayne Allred. Dwayne's around the same age, and Dwayne's talked to me about her before. The things that I hear from the folks that saw her in the flesh, they say, man, she was just ahead of her time. She was ahead of her time. She was that's why she was so good, because she was the best of the best in 1984. But if you put her out there in 2026, she'd still be the best of the best.
Right. And just piggybacking on the recruiting violation, listen to this one. It says Coach Goodson informed her that some of the mail that she was receiving from Coach Schamberger was improper. Come on.
Yeah, and that's it's a wild story, and it's one that you can read about online. But it definitely it put a bad taste in her mouth. I feel like for maybe just even the South. I don't want to speak for her, but if you read and you keep reading and some of that stuff, as Northeast Louisiana was as they were under the gaze of the NCAA. They're getting ready to come play at Mississippi College, and there are threats. They're call-in threats, and they decide, you know what, she'll just stay home. Mississippi College actually is where Brookhaven High won that state championship that year. It's a fun little trivia there. They played that game in A. Wood Coliseum. I believe they beat Meridian in the championship game, and then that happened again the next year. Before she got ruled ineligible, she was still getting these threats. And here is the the silver lining to her story. She had to overcome a lot. She had to overcome people in her ear telling her to do this, telling her to do that. She had to overcome the NCAA dropping the hammer on her and dropping the hammer on Northeast Louisiana, and she did. She found a new home at San Diego State. She battled through some major lower leg injuries that slowed her down, and she wound up becoming an All-American at San Diego State, All-Conference, Conference MVP. She was the player that she'd always been and got to end her career with a couple of good years. She's in the Hall of Fame at San Diego State.
Man, incredible. You just think about many people who you've seen go through their college journey and then tragedy hits, bad things happen, and then you don't hear about them again.
Yeah.
But the fact that she overcame that adversity just says a lot about her.
At a time where she had to be her own advocate, I'm sure. And listen, one of the cool posts I saw this week memorializing Chana Perry that we're talking about was in Italian. I had to translate it. Thank you, Google. And it was from one of her Italian teammates. She played pro ball in Italy in the late 80s, early 90s. And it was one of her former teammates from Italy. And she was saying, "You were a giant among us." It just proves what we're always saying. If you're great, your greatness transcends to wherever you're at. And when we talk about greatness in Brookhaven, we talk about Lance Allworth and NFL Hall of Famer that graduated from Brookhaven High School. But please, when you talk about greatness in Brookhaven, Mississippi, you need to talk about Chana Perry from now until we stop talking.
Yeah, man, just so happy to hear her story and just the impact she had on the community. Just I continue to look under rocks around here and just find these wonderful stories, great people, and great athletes. Man, it's just such a blessing to be a part of this.
It is, man. It's a special place, man. Southwest Mississippi is a special place, and there are a lot of places on the map that don't have what we have here, and that's why we always want to tell, as Robert said, these stories that go beyond the scores. And we want to thank all of our sponsors for making that happen. We also want to thank our friends at Juan Seed Store. If you missed any of this conversation, if you missed me talking about Bobby O'Quinn in the first segment, if you missed us talking about Chana Perry in the last couple, please give this show a listen. It is on every platform where podcasts are published. It's on your phone. You don't even know it, but if you just click on podcast and you search Y'all Sports Radio, you'll find it, and we wouldn't be able to do that without our friends at Juan Seed Store. We'll be back next week with a guest, and we'll get this thing rolling again. But, man, we just appreciate all of our sponsors for allowing us to tell the stories like we did today about Bobby O'Quinn and Chana Perry. Brandon, appreciate you as always, buddy.
Enjoyed it, brother.
All right. We'll talk to y'all next week on Y'all Sports Radio.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.